Welcome back, guys. It's thrift flip time. In today's video, I'm going to be taking this adorable wooden cradle and this adorable wooden swing that are for baby dolls and just giving them a slight makeover to kind of update them and give them their full potential back. Let's go ahead and get started. Look how cute these two items are. I found this wooden cradle a while back, and I just found this wooden swing just in the last week, and I think they are so adorable, and I am ready to finally put some time into them and find them a new home. So with this wooden swing, I think it is gorgeous. Honestly, the way that it is, but I do want to just give it a slight tweak here or there just to bring a little bit of life back into it. And then with the cradle, I'm going to be painting it, and I kind of want to make them a matching set, but like in opposites. So before I get started, I wanted to say thank you so much for the support and love that you guys always give me. If you're new here, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel and join us in our crafting journey. We do all kinds of stuff on this page, a little bit of everything. And if you guys like the content that I put out and videos like this, give me a thumbs up below. I would really appreciate it. All right, to begin, we're going to start on the swing because it's going to be the least amount of time. All I'm going to be doing with this is be removing any of the stickers and giving it a good cleanup. And then I'm going to be taking my chalk paint, which I have it in this little container because I've already pre-mixed this with some water. This just makes it not so thick and apply a little bit smoother. And I'm going to be taking a sponge brush and just taking this and putting a little bit of the paint on all of the edges of this piece. The idea of it is to give it like a faux, a faux distress by doing like a dry painting type situation. I love the stain color on this. I think it's gorgeous. I love that you can see the grain underneath, so I don't want to touch it too much. So I'm just going to touch all of the edges with this. If I get a little bit too heavy while it's wet, I will wipe it off, but I'm just going to put it all on and then let it dry just for a couple minutes. Before it gets too hard, I'm going to do a wet distress with a baby wipe or a wet paper towel, whatever you have. And I'm going to go back through and I'm going to kind of sand it with that wet paper towel and just let it come back down. I just want it to be very subtle, just enough to kind of show the detail of the edges because it might be hard to show in the video, but you can tell where they've sanded it and kind of just created these like little bit round, not super sharp edges. And I just want to bring those out so that you can see them and just add a little bit more detail to this piece. That way it isn't so plain, but it's just so beautiful. I don't want to do too much. So after I've wet distressed it and let that dry, I am going to just be sealing it in with a clear wax. I did think about using polyacrylic, but with this one and all of the crevices and edges and stuff, I didn't want to accidentally have a drip, so I'm using my Waverly clear wax. I'm just putting it onto a paper towel, rubbing it on, and then wiping all of the excess off. This is just going to seal it and give it a little bit, not really a shine, but just make it not look so dry and make it feel a little bit better too. As I was cleaning it and stuff, I could tell that the color of the stain was coming off a little bit. So just to seal all that back in and make sure that it's not staining anything or feeling too rough for any little child that might be playing with it. And that is it for this piece. I'm just keeping it nice and simple. I did the swing and the stand obviously to match, and put it back together and calling it good on that one. Now on the cradle part, I'm going to be giving it a full painting. As you can see here, it's pretty beat up, it's very dirty. It has definitely seen some playtime. So I'm gonna remove all of the stickers like before, give it a good cleaning. And then it does have some rough edges from just being nicked and bumped, and then the bottom two rockers definitely have some splinters and stuff just from wear over time. So I'm sanding those all down nice and smooth to make sure no one's gonna get a splinter. And after that, after I get it cleaned back up from the sanding, it is time to paint. So I am using chalk paint on this as well. As you can see, the chalk paint that I have, most chalk paints are very thick. Again, I just mix mine with a little bit of water and stir it up until it's a good consistency that I like. You don't want to water it too much or else it becomes very thin and it'll take a lot of coats. So I'm just doing it enough to where it will go on and my paintbrush will glide smoothly with the thickness that it is. I always use a really soft bristled brush. That way it's really smooth and it's not leaving me a bunch of brush strokes. And I believe I did 3 coats onto the Cradle. So I started on the bottom, let it dry, flipped it over, did the inside, and repeat. And once that was the 3rd coat and final coat was dry, it was time to give it a distress. Now, before I painted it, I forgot to mention, I used my Waverly Antique Wax and I kind of touched the edges of it because the edges were so beat down. They were back down to that raw wood, but I wanted the wood to be the dark wood color to show up once I sanded it down. And I did shellac the entire piece because it is older. Usually with the old wood pieces, they tend to brown on you, and I was trying to avoid that. It is cold outside where I'm at, so I put it on a piece of wood, I carried it outside, I sprayed it down really good, flipped it over carefully without trying to touch the area. I just sprayed it down really good, a really nice coat on both the bottom, the top, everywhere. And then I carried it back into my craft room, cracked the window, turned the fan on high, and let it dry because it's not going to cure properly outside in the cold. And I just let it sit in there for a while so that all the fumes could kind of get out and until it was nice and dry, and then I started painting. Now, I do still have some yellow spots after I have finished painting and let the 3rd coat cure. However, it's too cold to go back outside, and I think it just gives it character. I tried not to fill in too many of the cracks and crannies with the paint because all of those nicks, every mark that you see on there is just the past and the history of this piece, and I think those characteristics are what make it special. So I just painted over them. I didn't do any fillers or anything on it. So once that was dry, I was ready to sand down the edges just to give it kind of more of a rustic look. So I just hit all of the edges. I started out with a really fine grip, but I had let it cure, and so it was a little bit harder to sand down than I was expecting. So I did move to a slightly rougher grip. And I just hit the entire thing, and then I did sand the entire piece very, very lightly just to make sure it was even coat all over. I cleaned up all of the powdery from the chalk, and then I sealed it with my polyacrylic. I love polyacrylic. Chalk paint has to be sealed, so you need to wax it or use some type of sealant on it. I love the polyacrylic. It works beautiful. I use the matte so that it's not shiny, but it does give it a really good sheen, and it looks really good, and it has a really good feel to it. So I did that on the entire thing, made sure I had a nice good coat, and let it cure, and that is it for the 2nd piece. It's a very simple flip, but I think the change was much needed. I'm so excited to have this set. I think it's adorable, and I hope that it gets to move forward into a loving house of some little boy or girl who is just going to play and give it the love and care that it needs. So I'm going to be taking you guys in for a closer look. I appreciate you being here. Leave me a comment below of what you would have done or if you would have done something different. And I will see you next time.